Do you think that science will ever have all the answers? Depends on what kind of answers you're looking for, and what you mean by science. But I don't see why a theory of everything is impossible. But what if it turns out that the universe is infinitely complex? What if, at every layer of reality, every law of physics has a smaller, stranger, more nuanced effect that has to be accounted for? That could be the case, but if that were true, it doesn't necessarily mean we couldn't understand it. Infinities are described all the time in mathematics, from numerical sequences to fractals. Perhaps this infinity, or this universe, ultimately won't be understandable to us. Well, so far it seems to be. So far. So far, yes. But it might not be. Guess we'll find out. Besides, you can't predict the future growth of knowledge. If you could, you'd already know it. Sure, but it's not a ridiculous idea to think that maybe there are certain things that our brains just won't get and can't process. That's not a maybe, though. That's true. What do you think we use maths or computers for? We can't think in 4 dimensions, but we can build tools and machines that can, and we can understand their outputs. It's just I sometimes wonder if the way we approach science inherently prevents us from seeing certain things. Such as? I mean, don't get me wrong, it's obviously powerful, but look, all observations are theory-laden, right? You can't observe or indeed measure a thing without at least having some preconceived idea about what that thing is. Yeah, there's a sense in which you can't measure temperature without first having the idea for building a thermometer, but what do you mean? I mean that what we demand from science is repeatability. You set up an experiment, you run it, you record it, you do it again, and you have others do the same. And, surprise, surprise, we discover that the universe is orderly, that it obeys certain regular laws which always apply. And your point is? That it's not built for miracles. That we have set up a system whereby, by definition, one-offs are discarded. Wow. Yeah. That is not at all how science works. How? We record exceptionally rare events all the time in science. From a distant star exploding to discovering a fossil that's the only one of its kind to highly obscure quantum phenomena. The Large Hadron Collider can do 1 billion proton-to-proton collisions per second, all in the name of seeing that small fraction that do something just a little bit weird. But these rare events are all explained in the context of those regular laws. Yes, because our regular laws are just that good. But what about absolute, true one-offs? A never-repeated anomaly. Say an experiment is done whereby gravity is measured to be stronger in a room for 1 hour, or the speed of light is randomly different for no explainable reason. What about that? Then almost certainly we'd write it off as an experimental error. Because it would be. But what if the experiment didn't fail? What if it actually happened? Then the true laws of physics would work differently to how we currently understand them. But that's nothing to be afraid of. It's not like we think that science is finished. But what would it mean? What would the new laws of physics look like? I have no idea. It took a bunch of really smart folks quite a while to come up with the current ones. Don't ask me to invent a new physics on the spot, and don't take the fact that I can't do it as evidence that it couldn't be done, because it could be done. Okay, fine. However, if a one-off did happen like this, wouldn't our dismissal of the data mean that we miss out on a key facet of reality? Possibly. It might not be dismissed, depending on what experiment was being run, but possibly. Thank you. Look, if for whatever reason the universe did decide that in a random lab in California on a Tuesday afternoon the speed of light was going to be slightly slower for a laser experiment and then never again, by definition it kind of wouldn't matter? Oh, don't give me that cop-out. You're not an instrumentalist. Okay, fair. Science doesn't exist to just make predictions about the future. It should be about more than that. It should be about understanding and explanations. Yes, I agree. Look, if what you're describing ever actually happened, there would simply be more work to do. Maybe the laws of physics would fluctuate over time, or time wouldn't be quite what we thought it was. Still, we'd be kind of screwed if it never happened again. Possibly, but that's a risk we take. Besides, there is no perfect formula for discovering the truth about reality, or if there is, we don't know it. Science is just our best stab at that process. And despite having it, so many of the big leaps in our understanding about the universe were made by random discovery. So you think there's more out there? I don't think anyone believes with certainty that we've seen every facet of reality. On the contrary, I think most people hope that we haven't. Hey, dark matter and dark energy were recent theories, and they're meant to make up roughly 95% of the universe. Right, and who knows what we'll discover or theorize in the next 100 years. I still can't help but think that this insistence on trying to understand the universe through maths and order might just leave something out. Is it kind of like how when you use the lens to view something, inherently you're filtering out some light, or you're altering the path of the light that you're viewing? I don't appreciate that you're using a physics analogy, but yes. Look, what you're suggesting, this open, chaotic view of reality is actually the default. It's what we started with. Science was only really invented in the last few hundred years, growing out of natural philosophy. But before that, the way we understood reality was through stories, which would invoke deities or spirits or any entity to arrive at any explanation, and most of those explanations were bad. There were so many one-offs using that system, and progress using it was slow. And you think we discovered order and regularity, rather than asserting them? Yes. I mean, a lot of it involved using maths, so possibly the deeper question here is whether maths was discovered or invented. I have no idea. Yeah, me neither. But it certainly was a discovery that maths could be used to describe the world effectively. That is also quite a strange thing to think about. The point is, we know more than our ancestors did. And we know more because we can do more. True knowledge is information with causal potential. Science works. Science works so far. So far, yes. And what if it stops working? What if science reaches its limit? Then we'll find a new method and adjust our beliefs according to the evidence. We'll find new and better explanations, which really is what science is all about anyway.